Oh, g'day. What's going on? How are we?
Good. How are you going?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Bennett.
Excellent, excellent. Mama, how are you going?
I'm always good, always good. Happy with it being Monday today.
Yeah.
Blech. I'm on a detox of caffeine and, well, not fully caffeine, but coffee and
This coffee
shit food
is
and
going
alcohol.
down fucking awesomely.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind one, but
Aldi has a really good
that's the way it
decaf.
goes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Nice. All right, Stu, what are we talking about today?
I think today we'll talk about building a brand and what that means to an artist or a band or anyone really music related. I guess obviously certain people set themselves up as a business when they are in music, you know, whether they're like a marketing PR team or whatever that might be, and that's quite obvious, but a lot of people don't think of themselves as a brand when they're musicians. So I think we can kind of
Yep.
delve into that topic a bit.
Definitely. Mama, what do you think about it? In your experience of artists and bands that you've worked with, what are some good examples of how people have built their brand? Even what are some, if you've seen any bad examples of artists or bands that may not realize that you are indeed actually building a brand whenever you're putting out something.
100%.
And
I
if
think
you're not
comes
aware
down-
of it, I think bands can sometimes accidentally build a brand that they don't like or that doesn't fit them.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying just really hits the nail on the head. A lot of artists don't think of themselves as a brand. They think of themselves as a musician or as an artist. The PR stuff scares them. They don't know who to go to for a logo. They wouldn't know the first thing about doing a video. They're not sure about where to rehearse or record. They're not sure where they're going to get the money to do that. And so all of that comes into branding your product, your music product, whether it's you or the music itself or, you know, a combination of both. So I think it's a really big thing that artists really need to focus on, because they usually just rely on the, you know, hundreds or thousands of followers on their page and don't actually have like a plan set up.
Yeah.
And all of the, you know, the marketing plan, the business strategies, the social media strategies, all those things are part of branding. And I don't think artists do it enough.
What do you think could be the negative effect of not thinking about that?
Well, I came across a track the other day, and it came through one of the this page that I'm following, and it was a really great song, and it had like 55 likes, 2 comments. Thanks, Ben. And on YouTube, it had like 300 likes, and it was out for nearly a month. And it was a local Melbourne guy, and it was one of the best tracks I've heard all year. And it's really obvious he didn't have a plan. Video was great. Song was great. Got, you know, great styling in the video. Really catchy and, you know, fresh song.
So he thought about all of the things except for the marketing side. Well, not necessarily completely, because he spent time on getting the right video and
And actually
that sort
did
of
make a
thing.
video.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
So that's what a lot
marketing
of people
and
don't
going
do.
to market are 2 really different things.
Right.
And
Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. When you're marketing, you're basically building your brand regardless of what content you're putting out. So whether it's a song, a video, you just fooling around with your dog, you know, whatever it is, it's all part of branding and marketing. We're going to do a personal post today on Instagram. Tomorrow we're going to do behind the scenes of a podcast and that kind of stuff. Whereas when you're going to market and you have an actual release, it's really important that you understand who your target audience is, what demographics you currently have. So checking out your insights and stuff on your social media networks, work out whether you want to build on those or try and fill in some gaps if you've got, you know, too many females or not enough females or whatever it is in your list. And that's, you know, going to market really is specific to that song, that project, that album, whereas marketing in general is just to build a brand, because you're going to have different facets of your artistry, your personality and things like that different people identify with. So marketing should cover all of that, whereas going to market with a product really should be tailored and specific to a type of audience. And your different albums can do different things, but
Yeah.
it has to be, you have to know your customers, your target market and your audience.
I've heard a point that the worst thing that you can do as a personality is let the media speak on behalf of you. and that means like, you know, say you release a song and it's like super positive and upbeat, but then one day you walk outside and there's paparazzi and you smash their camera. Then what the media is going to do from there is they're going to say, oh, look at this, you know, so-and-so, they fucking smashed the paparazzi's camera. How dare they do that? Or they might say, oh, how dare the paparazzi get in their face?
Yeah.
But if you said nothing, you're letting the media talk on behalf of you. Where if you thought about it correctly, you're like, cool, how can I get my PR team to do a press release and explain from my perspective exactly what happened? And then you can kind of say, here's how I want to be perceived.
And that's going
Because
to
of that
market
sort of thing,
rather than marketing in general. That's a specific thing. One of the people, it's not a musician or anything, but one of the people who really knows how to market himself and knows how to go to market, who's had controversies and all sorts of things throughout his life, is Robert Downey Jr. He was in rehab, he was stealing stuff, he was going to jail, he was in all sorts of strife and trouble. He's been making movies for 30 years.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's rebranded, do you know what I mean? As a superhero, as, you know, and I hear a lot of stories from cast members that he's like everybody's uncle. You know, they've got catering, but he has his own catering for everybody. And he makes sure that people come to, you know, Downey lunches and things like that. And so I think a lot of that's turned him around, and he's now shifted his brand strongly towards that. Because a lot of people don't talk about his drug days, his jail days, his whatever days. That's all gone. He's superhero in general.
Yeah, and even when those days are brought up, it's brought up in more of a positive sense of look what it is now, rather than oh, here's this period we don't talk about.
Look about
like,
his dark past.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh man, fuck, this happened, but it's everyone's pumped to talk about where he is now, and that, good example.
Goes back to what you were saying before about the paparazzi and having an issue or whatever. If that issue is not with the paparazzi and it relates to you, like someone sees you doing drugs, takes a photo of you with no clothes on, whatever the situation is, all publicity is good publicity. You really need to understand how to market that in your favor, because you can put a positive spin on it regardless. You can poke fun at yourself going, who hasn't been naked? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, which then allows you to come back 30 years later and say, look at where you are compared to how you've come. You're an amazing success story, because those things still bring about success later.
So let's talk a little bit about when you're first starting as an artist or a band. Like, what do you think are some of the most important things that you can do to get ahead rather than get behind?
Yeah, how do you build a brand, or even, because I think initially when you're starting out, I don't think you should try to put too narrow a guidelines on what your brand is. So I think even just being aware that everything you put out will in some way dictate how people view you as a brand. I think just being aware of it is probably a first thing. But then, what are like some small steps that artists or bands can take to help determine that brand, or to help to keep their brand and online content on track?
Planning and really taking the time to make sure that you execute the plans and have someone, friend, mentor, band member that keeps you accountable or that contributes with you. By not having a plan and just throwing caution to the wind, you can't really predict, you can't really take it seriously. It's all about the business of music rather than the music itself. Once it's in the can, the music side's done. And from there, it really needs to be, you know, thought about, at least just thought about. I know a lot of artists that just think, this is a really good video, this is a really good song, I've got 3,000 followers, I'm set.
It's not that simple these days.
And if only 10% of those followers see that post as it scrolls or visits your page or is actually following you, you might sell 100 units, you might get 200 views on YouTube, you might get 150 Spotify plays. But with an a solid plan that you can execute, it doesn't have to be specific about who you are as an artist or whatever, but just a plan that you execute. You know, this is, play to your strengths and your weaknesses, so you're covering off both bases. Understand your audience. I cannot express that enough, how important it is to understand your audience, because even if you don't know who you are as an artist yet, you've got to understand at least who your audience is. Really, really important. So planning and having a marketing plan. You don't have to hire someone. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you need to cover your bases and you need to be consistent and you need to execute it well.
Yeah, I like what you said about having yourself and others holding you accountable. Because it's like, I'm sure we've both been through that where I know I have with my bands where we've really worked hard on the product. We aren't terrible at organizing things. We could be better, but there's just so much room for error. And if you don't really work together and hold yourself accountable for doing things, then it's just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Or it's just going to get away from you and it's just going to be a waste. Like you've worked so hard on, that's the hardest part about being in a small band where it's all on you, it's all on the band. If you're not all working together and you've worked so hard on the music, you put so much time and effort and money a lot of the time into it and just all of a sudden it just falls apart because you haven't worked that little bit extra on a different side of things that you really need to. You know, splitting that time evenly. It's like you can't just do the music side of things. You can't just go, like you said, expect to people to like your music. Yeah, they might, but you're not capitalizing on it because you're not getting it to the right places and you're not getting it to the right ears.
100%. Like that guy I was talking to you about with that song before. Amazing song, amazing video and whatever, had 50 likes and whatever. And I said, what's going on with this song? Why is there only 50 likes on it? This is brilliant. And they said, oh, you know, Lady Lisa, that's the importance of sharing. And I said, no, that's the importance of a marketing plan. And they blocked me.
So that's the other thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I've seen this a lot. And in the last kind of month, it fucking angers me. But artists put up these stupid posts blaming the algorithm or blaming their fans and blaming that for not getting views. It's like, it's not up to your fan to do your fucking marketing for you. Like
100%.
They put up, and it's not even done in subtle ways. It's very confronting. I'd say, from what I've seen, it's very off-putting as a fan because here you are. There's an artist, say they're up and coming.
You're following
them.
Yep.
You go to their shows, like you're supporting independent music.
Yep.
And then you have this fucking artist to have the fucking audacity to put up posts like, oh, I'm not where I am in my career because fans aren't looking out for independent artists and, you know, everyone can spend money on major label artists, but you don't share this. It's like you're having a direct go at the people that are supporting you it's
just the wrong way to go about
it infuriates me.
Yeah.
People should not be thinking about releasing music in any way, shape or form if they don't understand music business and they don't have
depends what you want to get out of it. Like if you've got the wrong expectation of things, you can release music all you want, you can play gigs all you want, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
I'm
if
just
your
going back to Ben's point.
if your goal is to get as far as you can to be a popular artist, doesn't matter what genre, it could be metal, could be fucking whatever. Like if you are expecting to get to that next level, get higher and be everywhere, then you can't stop yourself in those stupid, destructive ways.
Put it this way. If you spend $5,000 on recording the song, session musos, video, whatever, let's say hypothetically $5,000 is what you spent on your single EP, whatever, right? You should be spending at least 25% of that on marketing the product, right? You should also be spending at least 5% on understanding what that means, whether it's money, time, or whatever, because there's no use in having a great marketing plan and, you know, Ben's going to execute it for me. Thanks, Ben. And then we don't get any results and then we think, well, that failed. Let's just go and record the next song. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be full circle. It can't, you know, and having a market, the thing that annoys me the most, I know bands that get $25,000, $30,000 a gig and the places are sometimes empty. And they come to me and say, what do we do? Can you help us fill it up? I'm like, okay, how much money have you spent on a targeted ad for this particular place? Let's say they're playing New York. How much money have you spent on targeting New York for that ad? What do you mean? well, how much money have you spent on an ad to target New York for this gig? Well, we haven't.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just got $25,000 for this gig, and you can't put $100 into targeted advertising towards
Yeah.
that area. Like, it's not hard. And then they're like, oh, we don't want to spend any money. And I'm like, you just got $25,000 for this gig.
Yeah.
If every band member or every artist or even the singer or whatever puts in just $100.
Well, I think that the important point about that is to like understand where your budget lies, because you got to spend money to make money,
And we'll do a
when you
podcast
do
on
make
that.
money, then you got to spend more money.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
And I think
100%.
there's two things on that. One is, I think bands and especially people, if they haven't been exposed to business strategies or to marketing, I
Yeah.
think it's hard for them to see the tangible results in something like a Facebook or Instagram ad, because it's not a direct correlation to incomes. Like, okay, here's the ad, then here's it coming back. But I think if you were to run an A/B test and say they were playing 2 shows in 2 different cities or something,
Yep.
and you did marketing on one and not the other, I think then you'd start to see a correlation between ads working. But I think just because Facebook ads do not generate that sort of direct income, it's more about awareness and letting people know what's going down. I think creatives and artists sometimes don't see the value in it.
Yeah, I think, and bringing it back to local artists and smaller bands and things like that, bands that aren't earning 25 grand a gig, like
Yeah.
another thing that correlates with that is if you're not ticketing your shows as well, and there's like most venues these days will encourage you to ticket your shows. And
What does that mean?
well, making sure that you have tickets available to go to the show.
Do like
Right.
Eventbrite or
Eventbrite,
Oztix,
Yep, Oztix,
rather than
Moshtics.
just being on the door.
Yeah.
and it's another and to be honest, when I was younger and with my older bands, like we hated doing pre-sale tickets to shows and stuff because it feels like there's this stigma. I don't know what it is in local bands. It's like, oh, I don't want to make people pay. It's like if they're coming to your gig, they're paying anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to advertise yourself. You don't want to
Yeah.
make people pay for your art. You don't want to make them do this, do that. It's like, then you're not going to get people to your shows. Like ticketing is a really important thing for you to understand how well you're going to sell the show. So doing that in advance is better than letting it happen on the night. Like, so yeah, without ticketing your shows, you're not going to see the numbers. And
a good point.
if you are analyzing how well you're doing in whatever you are doing, whether
Reflect
it's a
that to your
gig,
ticket
whether
sales.
it's whatever, if it's a social event or if you're doing a signing or something like that, like you can help yourself by knowing how well you're going by ticketing.
Definitely.
100%.
And it just gives you more data to look at. Then you can see, okay, cool. For whatever reason, these people are buying a lot of my tickets, or it just goes into, it could be location, it could be male or
Yeah.
female. Like it just gives you information to go and work of, which again,
Yeah.
coming back to it, because all these things are useful, and what they're all for is if there is a breakdown, if something doesn't go the way you thought, or you have a release that didn't get the traction you want, the more steps you've got in line with that, you can just track it down and go, cool, okay, this step
This is
maybe
where it
broke
fell
down.
down.
This is like, you can just
Yeah.
fault find yourself because you're not just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. Like if you've got all the data from everyone who's come to your shows and you know them and and then you can go on Facebook and see what their other fucking interests are. Like you can
Yeah.
see maybe why they were interested in you. If you just dropped a clip about fucking getting high and smoking weed, suddenly, and there's people that follow 420 pages and you just happen to, go big in that demographic, then it's like, cool, it just gives you information to work with rather than what you think other people like in you. Because a lot of time we have made up our own little personal narratives about why we do it and why other people like it, and it could be wrong.
Yeah. That's why planning's so important, because you can actually see where everything comes to a screeching halt, and you can either back up and fix it, or you can just go, let's skip that and move on to the next thing. And it also allows you to understand the differences between things like what you were saying, the things that interest. That's what, again, marketing and going to market. Marketing is putting up that post of you smoking weed with your friends or whatever, because it's going to appeal to a different demographic, whereas going to market is specifically for that, project that appeals to this type of listener or whatever.
And that example of smoking weed just popped in my head because I think some bands that do it great is the Dune Rats. Dune Rats and Skeggs, they've kind of branded themselves as this fun fucking stone. It's perfect. They put out a beer with Young Henrys, I think, that was like weed infused.
Oh, yeah.
Like they tour Canada and fucking destroy it over there. But again, like that's a very true image to them. Like you look at these guys, every fucking
true
part
to
of
their
that
brand.
is in line with the brand that
Yeah.
they've built, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that was intentional from the start. It might have been just because they're so fucking comfortable being themselves and
Correct,
being
yeah.
genuine that it just built from there. But everything they do, if you go back and look at it, it's all within their fucking lines of their brand.
Yeah.
And you can break it down like that too. How do I want people to remember me?
Yep.
And I've had to do this myself, moving really heavily into the PR stuff because I was doing it on the side and I had a day job and whatever. But just moving into it full time, I realized people kept me accountable, and also, you know, it was a thought of my processes in my head as well. But, you know, for my music pages and for my business, I want to be perceived as a certain thing. And I can't do that when most people follow me on my personal page on Facebook where I swear like a trooper. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's about marketing. What I go to market with on my business page, the same my Instagram page, right? Nothing goes on there unless it's music related. There's nothing personal on there about me. Whereas my Facebook page is 100% personal. I put my opinions, I put my stresses, my everything goes on there, and everyone can see it. The majority of people that follow me on every social network finds me there first. So I've had to really pull back on a few things, not just for the branding, but because I think it affects everything.
Perception.
Definitely.
Everything, right? So language is really important. And that's a huge part of branding is your language. And, you know, when I get people constantly sending me things with a certain swear word going, hey, thought of you, I just think, shit, that's not how I want to be thought of. I don't want to be thought of as using that word all the time, or when everyone thinks of that word, which is so offensive to so many people, they think of me. Now, when they think of Prince and they think of me, well, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So when you are thinking of who you want, how you want people to think, when you think of Snoop Dogg, give me 3 words for Snoop Dogg. You know, weed, rapper,
Sober.
West Side, whatever, right? But do you know what I mean? Like you just have 3 to 5 keywords in your head
that's a good
if
point.
you're not sure how to break it down.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And that's
You know-
probably something some artists could do. Like if they're wanting to either develop, and it'd probably be handy to get someone you trust to help you with this because,
Yes.
again, sometimes we can lie to ourselves.
We can have a different opinion of
but
ourselves.
come up-
than others do.
Come up with 3 words that, you want to be associated with or do you think are in line with you.
and
just
trusting that person as well.
Hugely.
like
100%.
there's a thing that you can do. You can put up walls. People do it, right? They don't like to feel out of control necessarily. I think it's like a control thing, like where you know you go, oh, I'm this, and I know I'm this, and then someone else comes along that you can trust, and they say, well, here's how you're seen, or
Correct.
here's how people think of you. Then you can kind of go, oh shit, I didn't really realize that, but you have to be open to taking that on board, so then you
Exactly.
can move forward.
Yes.
100%.
Because if you just continue to put up those blocks, the
You'll-
walls, then you're going to go nowhere.
and
you're
you
just
could
going to
miss out
literally
on,
run in place.
Yep, you could miss out on opportunities as well. There was an
100%.
example there's in this audio book, and it was basically like it was talking about someone if they were, say they wanted to be like a chef or something, or food prep shit like that. Say they're going out and they're putting up all these blogs. They're like, I just want to be a fucking respected chef or someone in the food industry.
Yep.
They're putting out blogs and online content and all of this shit. It's all going well. And then suddenly, say, a group of fucking frat guys or some people in college saw one episode about fucking making, a certain type of nachos or something. And they just become a hit in the frat boys like tailgating culture where these college people liked it because they made dope fucking nachos to pregame with.
Yeah, yeah.
If they push back on that, they go, no, this isn't me. I'm about food. You're going to lose this whole... If you adapt with what's going down, suddenly you could put out a fucking weekly show about how to make the dopest fucking like nachos or pregame treats for you and your college buddies. But that's reading the feedback and being able to
Yeah.
adjust with it rather than just going, no, this is me. This is my bad. This is all I'm about. Because you're just going to close. You're not going to be able to go down the opportunities that are going to arise.
Yeah.
And think smarter, not harder. Because once you've made that decision about what those 3 or 5 things are that you want people to perceive you as, You've then got to go to market with it. So how do you do that? You know, I want to be a cool dresser, but I'm a complete geek. Okay, so where do I need to start? Let's find some clothing brand sponsorship. Let's you know, try an affiliation with a new brand, and we can do some bartering or whatever it is. So you know, branding is so broad, and marketing is so broad that you can have so much fun with it. Or if you're like a lot of artists that I know, sometimes they will contemplate a post for like a month. Just put the fucker up. Just put it up. If it flops, delete it. If it flops, move to the next
another one
one.
up.
It's important to someone, you know. But there's a lot of
You can't
creatives that are like that as well. They're
Determine,
just
yeah.
you know, and just perfectionists,
Perfectionists.
and
see it all
so
the time.
worried about what people are going to think of their post, and you just can't. Once you make those 3 or 5 things that are about you, like the branding thing that you want people to know you by,
Yep.
that's
Stick
it.
to it.
That's it after that. Whether people hate it, whether they love it, or whatever. If you want to completely rebrand because it's a big flop and people are telling you you're an idiot or whatever, fair enough. But you really need to commit to it.
Yeah.
Just like you need to
You can't
commit
flip
to.
flop.
Yep.
Right.
You can't go, I've got these 3 to 5 things. I'm going to stick with it. And then or as soon as someone doesn't like it, you go, oh, we're going to change it. Let's go.
Yep.
And it's like, cool, you're always going to
You're
be
al-
going
yeah.
to all these different directions. You're never going to get any traction.
And I think
Traction.
the other big thing is just
Important.
like those 3 things should be genuinely what you're about. Like you don't make those things off what you think you can market well. You don't make the things off you because you have to live it. People
gotta
can
be
smell
true to you.
bullshit a mile away. Like
Yep.
these 2 things are you. If you know you're a fucking nerd or you know a dork or whatever, you're good at school. Fuck, don't run out and start trying
Exactly.
to do the shit that's not like
Be smart.
yeah, stay in your demographic with
Yeah.
the brands and stuff that is associated with what you guys do. Like, fuck, go get a Dungeons and Dragons sponsorship. The people who fucking like you and your shit are probably gonna like that if that's where you are. You know, don't go and buy some fucking Adidas shell toes and a tracksuit and start hanging out with fucking old school hip hop dudes because it's not gonna resonate and people are gonna understand it that it's not
That's
you.
key.
Unless you do it as a joke.
Well, you can do it as a joke, you know, and I think it's really, really important that when we talk about branding, when we talk about marketing, when we talk about all that stuff, that people really keep the element of their project or their psyche or their being, not, ooh, Migos is doing really well this week, I've got to do something similar. Or, you know, that's getting hot at the moment, I'm going to start doing that. Or that's where I'm going to start getting my face tattooed. Like, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's about how you find inspiration. So you can find inspiration from these people. You can go, I fucking love that track. And then you can try and emulate it, but do it your own way.
Yeah.
And still stay true to who you are.
100%.
So you might like a guitar lick. Cool, chuck a guitar lick in.
Yeah.
You don't have to stop yourself from doing that because it doesn't fit within who I am. No, you can find elements and you can take bits and pieces.
100%.
You don't have to be that person because you're not going to be that person because you aren't that person. But you can draw things. You can draw the
Yep.
elements. You can draw.
Correct. And it's just even taking the thought process one step further. Like, say you just hear a track and say it's got a fucking mad guitar lick in it and then that resonates to something in you and you're like, oh man, I want to try to get this feeling out in the audience that listens to me. It's not just about stealing that guitar lick and put it in yours because they're not going to get the same feeling.
No.
It's about going that one level deeper and going, cool, okay, what did this inspire in me? What was this feeling? How can I get this in someone else? And it might not be from a guitar lick, it might be from something
exactly.
else at all. But if you're starting to ask the right questions because you're reverse engineering the result you want to get.
yes.
So that's good. Let's what other questions do you think are the right questions that people need to ask themselves for how say there's what I'm trying to say is there's so many artists doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like when you're starting up, how are you meant to, unless you're this like prodigy and you've got your own thing and you're just a freak at something and you're not like anyone else, which is extremely rare. Let's push them to the side. Let's talk about the 10 bands that are starting up that are all playing surf rock. Like whatever it might be. How do they find their brand? What are the right questions to ask themselves?
I think if you're an individual artist, you would know a little bit more than if you were a band. But I think as a band,
How come?
Well, because you don't have anyone else to consider. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, let's look at it as there's the product. let's ignore whether they're an artist
and that's
or
where
a
I was
band.
going with it. So the product is usually where that can come from.
Yep.
But one thing I want to say, just to break this up a little bit, is that without consistency and without execution and without reviewing, right, nothing matters, right? So if you're saying with the branding and the group and that, if everyone in that band has a different idea in their head, but they just agree because they want to please everyone or whatever, if everyone goes away with their own thing in their head, that's not going to provide consistency and it's going to create issues, right? So as much as having a plan and all that and everything that we're talking about is 100% spot on, it is so crucial that even if you get a friend to do it, you hire someone, you do it yourself, you allocate your mum to do it, whatever, there must be consistency in your branding as far as logos, types of posts, making your page really clean, making sure you pick a cover for your videos, just little things that make a difference. And also sticking to the plan.
So you're saying it doesn't necessarily matter what the brand is, it's about how you execute it. So
Because there's going to be a market for every type of brand out there.
Right.
If you execute and market it correctly, you get what you deserve as far as what you put out.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt bad for that guy, that video. I should find that video. We should share it on Marshall Street to give him some promo. But it is, it really hurt my soul because I really dug this guy. He's from Melbourne. It's a really cool sound. It's a young guy, something that I like, which is rare from young artists and whatever. And it just, he did not, and I'll say this to every artist, respect your music enough to give it the promo and the marketing and the concepts and the ideas that it deserves outside of the song or the album.
So come back to it. So what are the first things that the band or artist, whoever they might be, should be asking themselves? Because they don't know, right? If they're not aware
why
of
are we
it-
doing it? It's always
Okay.
going to come back to your why. Why are we doing this? Are we doing this just to have fun because we're bored and it's cold and we don't want to play sport during winter and we just want to get a band together and keep active and do some stupid shit? Or, we have a mission. We have we are Rage Against the Machine, and we have a mission. We have a statement. We have something to say, and we want to do that through our music. Some kids just want to be famous. They've got a band they look up to. Blink-182 is my favorite band. I want to be just like them. That's okay too. But you have to know. It doesn't matter why. You just have to know what it is. And always bring it back to your why. You can never fail if you bring it back to your why. Same with relationships, same with jobs, same with everything. Why are you there? What was it that got you with that person in the first place or in that band or creating with these people? What draw you to them? Because you're going to have differences of opinion when outside influences start coming in. And your best friend goes, nah, man, this guy did that and you should be doing that and whatever, and you're thinking shit. And then you take it to the band and the band's like, nah, man, let's just stick to the plan. You're like, yeah, but why?
That's a good point.
Why are we sticking to the plan? Why, what's this all about? We can do that for the next project. Like, just come back to your whys.
Yep. And I think the further down the line artists or bands get, there always seems to be extra voices that creep in, especially if there's more than one people in the band. Say there's 5 members. Those 5 members assume they've probably got some mutual friends, but they've all got some other friends. Suddenly, if they're playing shows, like, why aren't you playing on this? But and it's not through any, I'd say, bad intentions
ill
of
will,
their
yeah.
friends. It's just purely by people who aren't in the band, who aren't directly in the music industry,
Don't
asking questions
understand.
to them that might seem, normal.
Genuine, yeah.
But they can be the little root that starts all these fucking different thought process. Which again, if you know where your why is solid, you can come back to it and you'll be like, no, well, our splits are determined this way because this is how it goes down. Someone's like, oh, why are your splits fucking not even through the 5 people? Well, maybe fucking all 5 members don't write all the songs.
Yeah.
But if to someone who's not in the band, they go, oh, there's 5 members in the band, the splits are even. It's not always that simple.
Yeah.
And again, if you know your why, you can bring it back down, and it just means you don't listen to a lot of fucking outside noise, which is just gonna fuck shit up.
And that comes back to
Outside
staying
noise.
consistent as well. So, you don't have to have a bloody contract written up to say, what you're going to do every single time. But if you're all consistent and you all have the understanding and you're all on the same page,
Yep.
and you're all agreeing with each other, then you will be able to go, here's why we're doing it. Here's why our posts look the way they do. Here's why our songs sound the way they do.
Here's the
having the
type of
same-
people we're trying to get to our show.
Yep, having the same values as everyone.
Yeah.
I think if you all got the same values, you can make up for differences of opinion because you're looking for the same thing.
And
even-
keep it real. Like don't plan all of this stuff around how many likes or followers you're going to get or what people might think. Like I still say whatever I want on my personal Facebook page, but I don't, there's certain words I don't use anymore and I've toned it down and tried to keep it as positive as possible. But that's for me as well as the perception. So I'm not trying to impress anybody by doing that. I'm just trying to not offend them. Does that make sense? So if you're trying to do things for because you think it's what needs to be done in order to get numbers or whatever, you're not staying true to you as a band and to your craft and your art. So always make it about that first, not followers, not who likes or dislikes you. Just keep it real and you'll find your fellowship of genuine, followers.
And then let's just take it back again to a band that's starting out. Say they've been together like 6 or 8 months. They've played through some gigs. Everything's going well. They're gelling well together. Like, fuck, this feels really good.
Yeah.
Maybe they started initially just for fun. Now all of a sudden their buddies are like, whoa, you guys are actually good. They're like, fuck, people actually come to our shows and they like our music. Do you think it is ever too early to go, okay, let's have a fucking meeting about our brand? Do you think it's just a matter of let's just stay true to us and hope that the brand develops with that? Do you think is it worthwhile having the conversation that early? Would you go, okay, let's just give it a year. Let's do what feels good to us. Let's just stay what we're doing and let's just see how it grows organically.
Got to constantly review regardless. Even if, if something's an absolute disaster, you don't want to keep it on the plan just because it's on the plan. If it really shows you that it's taking you guys a step back, then you need to cut it quickly and move to the next thing. Whereas some other times, again, when you're thinking, oh yeah, but this is what this person's doing, maybe we should do that. No, do what we said we were going to do and see how it works out, sort of thing. I think you've always got to review what you're doing because people change, times change, trends change. MySpace was the biggest thing in the world. Then Facebook was the biggest thing in the world. Then Snapchat was the biggest thing in the world. And Instagram is going to fall off that wagon as well. So by reviewing everything and knowing where each other's at, you can survive a catastrophe of Instagram or Facebook dying as well. And keeping that review will review things outside of that as well, rather than just what you see on your phone constantly all day and getting influenced by the.
I think it is important to be in conversation. Communication breakdowns will lead to failure in any sort of relationship.
Agreed.
So especially like a band one where there's 5 people instead of just 2, like it's always worth every 1 or 2 months. Depends on how often you're getting together. If you're a full-time band, then you're getting together multiple times a week, or you're talking at least multiple times a week. So in that regard, I believe every time you release a new single or you've got a different video clip coming out or something like that, it's important to review those things that you set out, whether it's the 3 to 5 keywords, whether it's a type of look, whether it's something like that. You can tweak things, but it's never too early to have that conversation about what do we want to be perceived as.
Yeah.
If you are taking it seriously and you're wanting to be unique and individual and you're wanting to have a voice and things like that, absolutely have it as early as possible and try and get on the same page with everyone in the band.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you guys do that in the playbook?
There was times where we did have those sorts of conversations. Like when Laura joined the band, we were like, okay, cool, we've got a female singer now. How does this change how we're going to be perceived? How does this change our music? How does this change all that sort of stuff? So we definitely had that conversation. And obviously when we released our album, so there was probably a few times in our band's life with Laura in the band where we had those sorts of conversations, and it would have been when she first started, then when we released our first release, which is a 3-track, that was at the end of that year. And then when we released our album, which was about a year and a half later, we kind of evaluated things. We weren't a full-time band. We played pretty regularly, but we knew what we didn't want to look like, and we knew what we didn't want to sound like, and all that sort of stuff.
And that's a
So I
good
think
point
we
if you're
can-
finding it hard to know what you want to be. Just
Yeah.
stick to the things you don't want to be. That's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good point,
Start
Stu.
crossing things off the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we did it, although we weren't the most professional of bands. So
Well, that's okay. Like everyone joins a
Yeah.
band for a different reason.
Yeah.
You know, some are just for, music fitness, just to keep playing and have some people to bounce off with and share ideas and get inspiration and whatever. Because it can be a hobby as well as even if you're in a band. And I think, because that leads sometimes to issues as well. Some people are more serious about it than
yeah,
others.
it's having the
and-
right
Yeah.
expectations.
But even what you said, making sure everyone's on the same page, like that just goes for everything. If you want to find the shit out early as well. Like sometimes a lot of
Yeah.
younger people in bands, or they will kind of not ask those conversations or not ask
Because
the
it
hard
feels
questions
uncomfortable.
because they're like, no, this could arise. Something that's like, fuck, you want to know, you actually want to
Yeah.
know that as early as you can.
That's the best conversation to have.
Yep.
Even if it
100%.
is going to be uncomfortable, might end in an argument, but at least you know what that person's expectations are.
Yep. And because it's like, man, if you're in a band with 5 people and 4 of them are like, fuck, we really want to pursue this. We want to pay rent off it. We want to live in the music industry. We recognize that it's not just about the music, but it's about the business. They want to go all in, and that's what they're about. And then they have one other dude who is in it for fun, and he really loves his fucking engineering job 9 to 5, and he plays music because it's so enjoyable to him. Like, having that conversation so that everyone knows who's on what page, it's just going to mean that the 4 guys, whether it's looking for someone else or they have a conversation about, cool, man, just play live shows with us and we're going to get someone else. You can go about it in many different ways, but you need to know what the fucking issues are you're trying to fix.
And I think if you are not uncomfortable, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. I think that if you're constantly in a comfort zone and everything's rosy all the time, I get nervous when that happens.
Depends if you're kicking goals or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Bruno Mars and you're just selling out constantly and everything you do turns to gold and that's, 24 karat magic, that's fine. But again, if you're starting out and you're trying to look for that identity, that brand and that whatever,
Can't
you
be
have
complacent,
to,
no.
the start has to have uncomfortable conversations. It has to. And
if you're taking
uncomfortable,
it
it doesn't
seriously.
mean negative. Uncomfortable
exactly.
doesn't mean bad. It's
I think
just,
that's a good point. Uncomfortable doesn't mean negative. And just because it makes you feel awkward, if you're getting a result out of that conversation, it's better
You're
to
going to
have
grow
it.
out of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Usually feel better after it.
And even something else that just popped in my mind that we've done before, which is good, is you can set up like mood boards. So this is an actual takeaway that bands can go and implement. You can set up mood boards for, say, your Instagram or whatever platforms you're looking to, where you can go and you can either get pictures from other bands or other artists. You put them together, just do it in fucking Photoshop or Word or anything, but you lay them out so you can see, okay, as people are going through my feed, this is what they're all going to look like. This is the general feel of it. And then you can even pre-plan your post so you can put all the pictures. So you've got a folder that you upload all your pictures from. You can lay them out in specific order to go, cool, okay, this is what it's going to look like when a fan goes to my page. And even starting by doing it, again, doesn't have to be your own pictures. Get some, and you can do it around, cool, what sort of fashion do you want to include? What colors do you want to wear? All that sort of stuff. You just mock
The
it up.
fun part.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So much fun.
Yeah, mock it up, like put it in there, even write down. So we're like, cool, like these could be some cool fashion styles we want to play with. This is kind of what's in now. This is what we like.
Yep. That comes down to planning.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of my regrets in my music career come down to a lack of planning. And I think like just I've seen just by working here how much planning goes into everything that we do.
Yeah.
We work really hard on making sure we have an identity and how much we plan things to make sure that they go out certain times so that certain people see it and all that sort of stuff is really important. Like it's not a joke. Like it just, and I wish I could go back in time. So like that's why I really love working with young bands and stuff, because I'm like, I've made some mistakes and I don't want you to have to, but there's some
100%.
really easy ways
Yeah.
to avoid these mistakes. And just,
Yeah.
just if you stick to it, you'll have a better time.
And
Yep.
find a mentor. Find a mentor. Message me. Message Ben. Message Stu. Stu is more sort of technical and music and engineering stuff. I'm more PR and whatever. find someone that you resonate with, that you think can help you, even someone that you follow that you think's awesome. Reach out to them. You never know, you might get a response. And I think it's really important. You told me not to talk to the camera. It's really important that, you do stuff like that. It's really, really important.
Definitely, because you learn from other people. Like, no one learned how to fucking drive without a teacher. People didn't learn how to fucking talk without someone teaching them. Okay, this is how you make. Like, you learn from other people. It's stupid to think that just because you're in a band, you're going to naturally know how to do it yourself. Like, find someone who's done it before. At the end of the day, no one's reinventing the wheel here. Find someone who's done it before, hang the fuck out with them, pick their brain. You're going to learn by osmosis.
Yes.
And then if you're good to hang out with and you're fun and you're not fucking annoying, they're going to hang out with you. Like the dude who's mentored me for the last 3 or 4 years, Jack the Bear. I remember the first phone call when he called me, he was like, now I'm not looking for a fucking best friend. He's like, this is going to be, about a 12-month thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll see about that. And then 4 years later, he still comes around to my house all the time. We have lunch with him.
Yeah, we do.
Just because it's fucking fun hanging out with each other and we learn from each other. And someone might go, okay, man, you'll get 1 cup, I'll give you a coffee, you get 15 minutes and that's it. Just be a fucking real person. And 2 years later, you're probably still going to be hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the level of power that you have in that relationship, because I know that through the couple of mentors I do have, or the couple of people that I mentor, are completely mentoring me back all the time.
You're just learning.
100%.
Two-way street.
Yep.
100%.
Nice.
Cool. I think that's pretty good. I think we covered a lot there.
We did.
What do you reckon? Is there any other final points people want to chime in with?
Plan, implement, execute, review.
Yep. Nice.
Good stuff.
Flip,
All
slap,
right.
slap.
All right. We'll
On that
we'll
note-
see you next time.
Yep.
Cheers.
Enjoy.